Okay, this is my integration practice lab 2 for my calculus class, and I kind of left off on this one because I had a phone call. So I'm going to start again. And it says sketch the graph of f of x equals x times x plus 2 times x minus 1. Well, first of all, I know it's a polynomial, and I know that it's one of the roots are zeros is 0, the other one's -2, and one is 1. So I that's why I put that here. And it says find the integral of f of x dx and interpret it in terms of the areas. So I'm going to go through and do this with you and show you exactly what's going on. So first of all, when I just sketch this, it looks like a whale to me. But let's look at the calculator. So I'm going to come here. I graphed it from -2 to 1. As you can see, the area here is greater than the area here. So there's a couple things I want to show you. One is when you do the integral, so I just put it in my calculator, I'm going to come all the way to the top here, and I go from -2 to 1 of this function dx, I get 9/4, which is 2 1/4. But you got to remember, on an integral, it takes the positive area here and subtracts that. So I said, okay, I want to know what each piece is. So there's the whole thing. Then I went from -2 to 0 is where it crossed the first time. I found out the area to be 8/3. Then I went from 0 to 1 because that's where it crossed and went underneath. Do you see how the integral's negative? Okay, so if I'm looking for the actual value of the integral, 9/4 is okay. But if I'm looking at the area between the x-axis, I've got to add these two together, and I don't want this to be negative. So there's two ways you can do that. Either you can, ready, go from -2 to 0, the integral, minus, because I know this is negative, when I do, I get 37/12, which is about 3.08. So this is a little bit more than here where it was 2 1/4. So it basically took this negative, made it positive, and I added them together. Now here, if I just do -2 to 1, that's the whole integral, and I put an absolute value, do you see how I get the 3.08 as well? So 37/12 is 3.08. This is 3.08. So these two are equal to each other because it's taking the negative underneath the x-axis and making it positive and adding the areas together. Okay, so let's kind of write this down on here so you know what's going on. So this is very important. If I just ask you to find the value of the integral, just the value of the integral, you have to understand that this is considered positive, this is considered negative, that it's going to subtract it. So if I went from -2 to 1 of x times x plus 2 times x minus 1 dx, I'm going to get 2.25. That is the value of the integral. If I'm asking you to find the area, okay, between the x-axis and the curve, okay, area is never negative. So you either are going to have to split this up where it crosses, so you're going to go from -2 to 0 of f of x dx, and then you got to subtract because from 0 to 1 of the same function is negative. When you do that, that's when you get the 3.08, I believe, is what it came out to be. Roughly, okay? You actually could actually write it as this, I showed you, you can actually write it as well with an absolute value, you would get the same answer. But I'm going to tell you, if you can figure out where it crosses the x-axis and split it up, then that's, at least I know you'd understand it better than sometimes just throwing in here because you don't know how much is underneath. Now, the other thing I wanted you to recognize is, see how big this is compared to here? I knew overall that if I did the integral from -2 to 1 of this, it's going to come out to be a positive answer because this area is much larger than this. So this is just some of the things to look at as you're doing this, and I wanted to show you, all right? Now here, I like this diagram because it lets me know, do you understand what's going on? So they said here, this area right here is going to be 27. And this spot here. So all this stuff here is 27. Then here, down here, they said the area here is going to be 10. Okay? So let's do this. The integral from a to b. So here's a and here's b. Okay, so I'm just going from here to here. The integral from a to b of f of x dx is just going to be 27. It's the area above the x-axis. If I do b from b to c, if I just ask you for the integral, that's going to be a negative 10 because this is underneath the x-axis. C, it says, can you please tell me the integral from a to c? You have to recognize that it's going to take the positive, subtract the negative, so you're only going to have an integral of 17. Okay? This I meant to say a to c. If I go from a to c and do the absolute value of that function, it's going to add it. You'd be 27 plus, it's actually a minus a negative 10, so it's plus 10. You're going to actually get a 37. The other way to write that would be here, the integral from a to b of f of x dx minus the integral from b to c of f of x dx. And you would get a 27 as well because this is a negative 10, and 27 minus a negative 10 comes out to be not 27 but 37. Sorry, 37. So I hope this helps. I just want you to be familiar with the difference between area and in evaluating the integrals. And remember, area is never negative. Okay? So that's the end for this.